तो आज मैं बहुत खुश हूँ क्योंकि फिर मैं दिल्ली में है आपके साथ. Thank you, Lisa, and for all the efforts of your team to make tonight happen. Special welcome to the Honourable Chris Bowen, Australian Minister for Climate Change and Energy, and to your delegation as well. Welcome also to the Australian High Commissioner to India, Philip Green, whose tireless efforts ensure the relationship continues to go from strength to strength. Thank you also to the University of Melbourne, represented tonight here by Vikram Gera and also Alia, who's been up here emceeing, for your ongoing support to not only the Australian Institute but to deepening and broadening this remarkable relationship with India, including through an increasing presence on the ground in Delhi. Welcome also to the Australia-India CEO Forum delegation who accompany the Minister on this visit in another demonstration of the deepening links between our two countries. Also to Dr. Ranjit Rath, Chairman of Oil India, building an integrated energy company, including, he was just telling me, a world first converting bamboo into biofuel, with some bamboo growing at the rate of 1 metre a day, which is pretty phenomenal. It's a good fuel source. And also to my very esteemed colleague and friend Anil Wadhwa, who was Secretary East when I was here as High Commissioner, who together we did battle on many, many things to keep this relationship going in the right direction. And finally, and significantly, welcome to every one and each of you for coming here tonight as an expression of the interest between our two peoples as we advance the India-Australia partnership. The Australia-India annual Oration is a wonderful and recurring celebration of the breadth and depth of the bilateral relationship, with speakers over the years showcasing how important and also how diverse the Australian-India relationship has become, spanning defence and security, energy, economic cooperation, trade and investment, education and skills, people-to-people links and more. And what's special and interesting about the speech we're about to hear this evening's address by Minister Bowen on climate change and energy transition is that this topic encompasses all of those issues in one way or another. Because the climate crisis is fundamentally a security challenge, protecting our planet and communities around the world. It's an energy security agenda, with growing renewable energy replacing the need for energy imports, a key objective here in India. It's about economic prosperity. We're now seeing firsthand the immense commercial, trade and investment opportunities flowing from decarbonisation, new technologies, businesses, markets and financial flows. It's about changing mindsets, learning new ways, where education and skills are paramount. And it requires the involvement of communities across Australia and India, and yet another affirmation that in the end, as always, is our people-to-people links that must deliver success. I won't steal the Minister's thunder on how all this is currently unfolding between Australia and India, except to say, as Elisa said, there's never been a better time for this address than now. When I was High Commissioner here a decade ago, I remember the deep scepticism, if not derision, accompanying Prime Minister Modi's target of 100 gigawatts by 2022 of solar power. India smashed that target and has passed its goal, we heard today from the Secretary, of its goal of 50% of non-fossil fuel installed electricity capacity 5 years ahead of schedule. And we were told today as well it is on target for 500 gigawatts by 2030, which is absolutely remarkable. The same dramatic progress is occurring in Australia, where for the first time recently renewable energy surpassed coal generation, underpinning the government's ambitious new emissions reduction target of between 62 to 70% by 2035. This represents a revolution in our energy systems and economies, with all the new possibilities that brings. And we're just still at the dawn of this revolution. And having come so far so quickly, think how bright and long this new day will be. And there's no better person to speak of this bright new day than the Honourable Chris Bowen. Change requires vision and leadership and courage. And today, Philip, our High Commissioner, was making a comparison of the Minister and Pat Cummins, this famous Australian bowler. But I like to think of the Minister as Steve Smith, swashbuckling and very brave opening batsman. Not often hitting ones or twos, more often looking for fours and sixes and facing googlies, spinners, bouncers, balls at speed, and dispatching them to the boundary with aplomb. And in that context, that takes great bravery, and the Minister has been a leader in that context in Australia. He's leading the transition in Australia, and in doing so he's charting the course for a better future for Australia. But he's also leading in building the global partnerships required for success, where we all know that no one country, no matter how big or wealthy, can succeed in this transition alone. And this leadership is no accident. It speaks to the depth of his commitment, but also to the depth of the Minister's experience. Minister Bowen is one of our great political veterans. He's elected to Parliament in 2004 and has served in a host of significant roles since then, including as Treasurer, Minister for Immigration, Minister for Human Services and Minister for Small Business. Similarly, he has a long-standing commitment and involvement in strengthening Australia's relations with India. He's been a frequent visitor to India, championing that commitment over the decades, as we see him here tonight doing again, as well as championing the significant and growing Indian communities in Australia. And I know he's missing Diwali celebrations here on the weekend to be in his electorate, to participate in the Diwali celebrations in his electorate back home. Minister, I recall a conversation with you when I was here as High Commissioner, when you made an impassioned and inspiring case for the importance of the Australia-India relationship and the need to nurture, deepen and diversify what you said must be one of Australia's top relations. I also know your long-standing view of the scope and imperative for Australia and India to be key partners in responding to the climate crisis and on energy transition. So it's with great delight that we welcome you here this evening. And with that, could I please invite you to the stage to give this special and timely oration.
Namaste. Thank you, Patrick, for that introduction, and congratulations on your appointment to your new role. Well, I've long regarded myself as a friend of the Australia-India Institute, and I'm honoured to be giving this address tonight. I participated, as has been mentioned, in many Australia-India leadership dialogues. I'm a big supporter of 1.5-track diplomacy and the role that the Institute plays in bridging government, business and civil society. And thank you for all the work that you've accomplished over the past 17 years. My friend, His Excellency Philip Green, my friend Lisa Singh, and all the leaders gathered here tonight, and particularly extend my thanks to the Business Council of Australia through JD Mackay and the Smart Energy Council led by John Grimes for your leadership in bringing high-powered delegations with us this evening. And my gratitude to you all for coming this evening. A warm welcome is what I've come to expect from a country with deep cultural and people-to-people links with Australia. It's also what I've grown accustomed to from the Indian community in my hometown in Western Sydney, a community that I'm proud to represent in the Australian Parliament. Indians living in Australia have strengthened our country, and I respect them deeply for doing so. And my family and I are proud of the opportunities we've had to celebrate Diwali and Holi in our community so often, and I'm looking forward not only to attending Patrick Diwali celebrations on Saturday night, but hosting my Diwali, where I'm expecting several hundred people, including my guest, High Commissioner Gopal Bagley. So being here with you tonight and lighting the lamp to Beginners and other reminders of our Indian community back home gives me a palpable sense of affinity and pleasure. Now, I've been to India many, many times since my first visit in 1998. But what has brought me to India this time is the big opportunity before all of us, the difference we can make as global leaders on climate action, the best interests of the planet and the best interests of our respective nations. The world is witnessing a sweeping transformation in the global economy, the likes of which we have not seen since the Industrial Revolution, and we must harness that transformation in our own interests. Trillions are pouring into renewable energy, about double the investment in fossil fuels. And the goal is stopping the worst impacts of climate change by reaching net zero emissions, a goal that India and Australia both share. Last year in Brazil, Prime Minister Albanese and Prime Minister Modi welcomed the launch of the India-Australia Renewable Energy Partnership. And tonight I'd like to update you on that partnership and what we can achieve together. Last time I was here in India was 2023. It was an opportunity to speak with ministers and business leaders about how Australia and India could advance energy cooperation. We continued this dialogue last year at the Australia-India Renewables Dialogue in Sydney, where we explored opportunities to share clean energy technology. I said then and I'll say again, I regard the Australia-India relationship and energy partnership as being in the top rank of our bilateral international energy agreements. Because the global energy transition ties our two nations together in so many ways. We're united by a shared ambition to contribute to global action on climate change. We're working, both of us, towards net zero economies guided by interim targets, which we're in the process of updating this year. Of course, recently we announced our 2035 target, a reduction of 62 to 70% in emissions. This is a target that's both ambitious and achievable. It provides certainty to industry, and because it's those two things, ambitious and achievable, it's also therefore investable, which is the key thing. And we're working towards our domestic renewable energy targets as well. In our case, 82%, in India's case, 50%. Both ambitious, both a big step up. And I applaud India's ambition, especially in the context of extending electricity to so many Indians who currently don't have access, making your task so much more complex and challenging. As challenging as it is, it's also a remarkable opportunity. Because renewable energy is what will underpin our future economic opportunities and in no small part the key to economic prosperity in coming decades. Opportunities in green hydrogen, in clean energy manufacturing for things like electrolysers and solar modules. Clean energy supply chains that will be the key to our success. That's why we're proud to be working with India through the Quad, for example, to strengthen our supply chains. This week, we announced 12 projects that will receive $25 million worth of grants in the first round of our Quad Clean Energy Supply Chain Diversification Program. Projects will conduct innovative research and development and feasibility studies to expand and strengthen solar PV, hydrogen, electrolyser and battery supply chains. 4 of those 12 projects are based and involve an Indian partner, which I welcome very much as an indicator of the complementary nature of our strategic approach. So friends, it makes more sense now than ever before to focus on renewable energy supply chains and sovereignty. And that's exactly what we're both doing through the Future Made in Australia program and the Make in India program. And the India-Australia Renewable Energy Partnership provides more opportunities to unlock supply chains and support our transitions and create new prosperity. As I said, I regard it as the key to economic success in coming decades. And we do have complementary strengths, incredibly so. Australia brings deep expertise in clean energy innovation, R&D and education. And India is a global leader in digital and technological, and it's a powerhouse. Australia holds India's technological accomplishments in very high regard. You sent a rocket to the moon. The landing of the Chandrayaan mission and the landing of the lunar surface 2 years ago, on the lunar surface 2 years ago, see India in many ways lead the world. Both our countries possess enormous talent when it comes to skills we need to unlock more renewable potential. If we can get even more collaboration underway, it will be of enormous benefit to both countries, and that's very much been the focus of our meetings today and will be tomorrow. There are so many areas of cooperation between Australia and India. I'll try and limit myself to 2 on which we focus today. Solar PV and hydrogen, not to discount the others, but just in the interest of time. And these technologies are so critical to our future. So let's take a look firstly at solar. Australia has the highest rooftop solar penetration in the world. More than 1 in 3 Australian households has solar panels. And increasingly, they have batteries too. Now around 400,000 have a home battery. So we can use that solar energy day or night. And there are 1,000 Australian houses putting in a battery each and every working day. We're also a leader in solar innovation. A pioneering force in solar innovation, in fact. The groundbreaking solar technology cell developed by Professor Martin Green and his team at the University of New South Wales in the early 1980s is now used in about 90% of all solar panels in the world. The Renewable Energy Partnership with India provides a great opportunity for Australia to share our expertise with India. After all, we both have remarkable solar expertise at our disposal. We are Surya Putra, as Prime Minister Modi calls it, sons of the sun, both of us. The Indian government's vision for solar is both ambitious and inspiring. It's a vision Australia can assist, perhaps in a modest way, but assist nevertheless in achieving. You've set a target of 500 gigawatts of non-fossil fuel electricity supply by 2030. Solar is at the heart of that target. You've already made impressive strides. India's achieved record solar capacity over the last year, backed by the National Solar Mission, with initiatives like PM Gar Muchi Biji Yonja for household solar and PM Kusum scheme for solar-powered agriculture. And we're already cooperating on solar, and we're working on doing more. Building the future renewable workforce is a key element of the Renewable Energy Partnership. The Australia-India Rooftop Solar Training Academy being established at the Pandit Deendal University in Gandhinagar is a promising first step to support workforce development. I am so proud to see its development and its progress. This world-class centre will train young Indian women and men, solar technicians using Australia's expertise in solar training and curriculum development. I understand that the renovations of the PDEU campus are nearing completion. The High Commissioner was there just last month checking on progress, and he reports that progress is excellent. The Academy is expected to be up and running within the next month, providing a skilled workforce for India's growing rooftop solar market and supporting your goal of installing solar on 10 million households. So I welcome the proposed transmission workforce training collaboration between Power Grid Corporation of India, the Smart Energy Council and Deakin University as well. It focuses on building skills pipelines for managing high voltage transmission infrastructure. The aim is to promote knowledge sharing and workforce development in both Australia and India. So let's turn to green hydrogen. Now, there's plenty of challenges and headwinds. That makes collaboration more important, not less important. Both Australia and India have critical industries that are hard to abate. The iron industry, the steel industry, the aluminium industry. All of them tough nuts to crack, but not impossible. And indeed, as I said, the fact that they're hard makes hard work more important, not less important. Renewable hydrogen holds considerable potential for solving the problem. It holds the key to green metals and other applications critical to industrial decarbonisation. That's why we continue to invest heavily in green hydrogen projects. The Australian government is injecting billions of dollars into various programs to support the development of this critical industry. Orica in Newcastle, near Sydney, is a large industrial scale facility where a 50 megawatt green hydrogen electrolyser is being built. This will help the mining solutions giant produce 4,700 tonnes of green hydrogen each year. To decarbonise its ammonia production, another hard-to-abate industry. And we're supporting Orica through our Hydrogen Head Start program. The project is one of a number of green hydrogen projects either under development or in the pipeline in Australia. Australia's among a very small number of countries in the world with the capacity to develop a green hydrogen industry big enough for export. Our country possesses a range of renewable hydrogen capabilities that can support India's national green hydrogen mission. Your mission is to establish India as a global hub, producing 5 million metric tonnes of green hydrogen each year by 2030. Another ambitious mission. And again, we have strong research and institutional expertise in the field, and we can play a role in assisting. Green hydrogen has been an R&D focus in some of our universities and research institutions for a long time, with many having deep experience with electrolysers. Australia's excellent solar and wind resources have also been key to our potential to produce renewable hydrogen more cheaply than elsewhere. This is in addition to our abundant land for large-scale infrastructure required for operating electrolysers at scale. Now, before I conclude, I just want to say a few words about the other side of the coin, climate change, because there are a few of us in the world who are Minister for Climate Change and Energy, and I'm one of them, having responsibility for both climate change and electricity. Where our respective leadership is more important than ever for global momentum and is the multilateral system. And again, this has been a focus of some of our discussions today. India, as a potential host of COP33 and a powerful voice for sustainable development and a greener, healthier planet, is a key partner. Australia, as a bridge between developed nations in our shared region spanning South Asia and the Blue Pacific continent, wants to partner with India in multilateral forums. As many of you know, we are also bidding to host COP31 in partnership with the Pacific, and we're grateful for the strong support from Pacific leaders and the Western European and others group. This would be the first time a COP has been delivered in a partnership model like this, and I'm very proud of that. And it will be the first time a COP has been held in the Pacific. And I hope that all nations can see Australia's commitment to a partnership COP as part of our nation's determination to being a reliable, trustworthy friend who wants to work with partners on the challenges before us, indicates an inclusive COP that we will be president of. We have an unparalleled opportunity to harness the Pacific's climate leadership to deliver strong climate outcomes for the region and for the world. COP31 would allow us to build on landmark initiatives like the International Solar Alliance launched by India in the lead-up to COP21. Australia looks forward to developing an ambitious agenda for COP31 in partnership with the Pacific countries and in consultation with international partners, including India. And we hope to connect the agenda to the host of COP32 and the host of COP33, which we know India is hoping to host. If India is successful in that bid, let me make it clear, we look forward to working with you to build a legacy that connects our countries through our COP presidencies. So friends, the next decade, as we know, is the decisive decade. It will be critical for climate action and the energy transition. We must press on despite the headwinds and challenges, and indeed those headwinds and challenges make pressing on even more important and makes our determination even more important. Because in the climate crisis that confronts us, opportunity also knocks, waiting for us to usher in a new era of prosperity, turning the gifts of nature into the engines of growth. But no single country can do it alone. Success will come from like-minded countries working together in the spirit of Barossa, of Mariada, of Guyane and Calayan. Our greatest asset lies in the friendship of our complementary strengths. Working together, we can bring out the best in each other and show the next generation that when opportunity knocked, we did not turn it away. Thank you, and Dhanyavad for your company tonight.
Thank you, Minister Bowen, for your timely remark on renewable energy partnership. I would now like to invite CEO AII Lisa Singh on stage with Minister Bowen for an conversation. Thank you.
Well, Minister, it's lovely to have you back and to have just heard our annual oration be given by you for 2025 on a topic very passionate and close to your heart, but also mine. In a past life, I was First Minister for Climate Change in Tasmania once upon a time, so I'd love to talk to you tonight about both sides of your portfolio, as you've touched on in the oration, which is, of course, energy and climate change. I think they do very much marry each other at this time. And also just to reminisce on the fact that I think it was 10 years ago since we were both here, we travelled here together. And, you know, if you look at the Australia-India relationship since then, it has certainly grown tenfold. I wanted to start there and sort of take you back to 2015 and bring you up to 2025. And was
that the leadership dialogue where we had an earthquake?
It was, yes, at the Tajman Singh, I think.
Yeah, we had to evacuate the room.
We did indeed. Yeah. You've got a very good memory.
Oh, I do remember being an earthquake, yes.
It was a memorable event, that's for sure. But of course, so much has happened since then.
Yeah.
And I guess I wanted to start there and ask you, what do you think has been the most significant part of the Australia-India relationship in that last decade? Because we are so much closer now than we were, but what is it that's made us so much closer?
Look, I think there's a number of things, but I think at its heart, the big thing over the last decade has been just the growth of the Indian diaspora in Australia. And every single Indian Australian is an ambassador or a high commissioner for both ways. And I see that every day in my community. Every single person who comes to live in Australia brings the culture and heritage with them that brings a real spirit of enterprise and puts that spirit of enterprise to work every day. And I think, obviously, government-to-government links are key and vital, but they can only provide a framework. It's the people-to-people links that we keep talking about, and at its core, that Indian diaspora in Australia is the heart of those people-to-people links. And I think that's the change over the last decade. India has been Australia's largest source of migrants since I was Immigration Minister. And that has taken time to build to a critical mass of a diaspora. And I think that is really at the heart now of the bilateral relations. You know, as I said, it's wonderful that PM Modi and PM Albanese have such a warm relationship and our cabinets work closer together. But you know, cabinets come and go, the diaspora will stay forever, and that really provides a huge anchor for the relationship.
Absolutely, and that I think that is described as a human bridge, and
Yeah.
I think that's a great explanation as well. Well, here we are now, where, as you say, Albanese and Modi are great friends and have signed this renewable energy partnership late last year, and you are the minister now implementing that partnership. I wanted to ask you, I know you said it tonight again, and it's incredible to hear you say that the Australia-India partnership is a top rank in terms of global partnerships that we have. Obviously, this REP is part of that now. But what are the most important areas that this renewable energy partnership is really going to deliver breakthroughs for our two economies, particularly at a time when there's a fair bit of disruption?
Yeah. Look, I think the world's our oyster. You know, it will just keep growing and growing. But the two that I think are most front of mind, and the two I referred to in some ways in the remarks, workforce. You know, building a solar workforce is a good problem to have, but it's still a problem. You know, we are going to need thousands more workers in the solar workforce, but in both countries. And it's a lot of training, and there's a lot of things that, let's be frank, a lot of things can go wrong on a roof and when you're working with electricity. So it has to be a highly trained workforce. And, you know, one of the things we're proud of in Australia, not only have we 4.2 million houses with solar panels on their roof, and now 400,000 houses with batteries and 1,000 a day, but effectively incident-free. You know, effectively zero complaints, zero hazards, zero fires. That doesn't happen by accident. So you've got to build that workforce and build it constantly and add to it. So I think there's real complementarity there. We've learned one or two things along the way. We don't have all the answers, but we've learned one or two things along the way that we can share, and that's evident in the academy in Gujarat. And then technological expertise and efficiency. You know, a tiny improvement in the efficiency of a solar panel, multiplied by the millions of solar panels in the world, you know, is a huge difference to the energy security for our country. So, again, you know, the work at Australian universities and Indian universities collaborating, and Australian universities working directly with Indian industry can really make some small improvements to efficiency, which will have big impacts, not just for Australia and India, but that technology will help anywhere and everywhere.
Absolutely, and it was really, really fascinating to hear you talk about this new academy that you've launched during your visit here. I think it's something that's really going to drive a closer relationship between us in this area of that's coming out of the Renewable Energy Partnership. But of course, you talked about workforce development being a key part of that. India has a very young population still. Do you see that as being a two-way workforce development? Is it something we're just investing here in? I know we've got Future Made in Australia, so we want a lot of investment in Australia as well. So is it a two-way situation?
Well, I think that's up to us in the future. We've made the first steps, and inevitably I say these things as always things we can learn from each other. I was talking to the Secretary today, not about workforce, but about agrivoltaics and what Australia's learned, and he then chimed in with what India's learning, and entirely complementary. That you can improve agricultural productivity by having solar panels on a farm in a very different agricultural context, but the same lessons. So again, where the partnership goes is up to us.
I also heard you talk about the Quad tonight, and obviously, the Quad has, again, something changed a lot since we were last here a decade ago. How do you see the future of the Quad? Obviously, it's got really important working groups that fall under your portfolio. You talked about some of that tonight. I know there's the Quad Climate Change Adaptation and Mitigation Package, and all sorts of other areas that are driving a decarbonised economy for the 4 nations that make up the Quad. But how do you see the future of the Quad in terms of the areas you've touched on tonight?
Well, I mean, I hope a productive and strong one. I don't know that. We don't know that. The Quad is in some ways subject to the pressures of the day, including today, including the times we live in at the moment. But if we can more and more invest in the Quad, those practical outcomes, I think that's obviously useful in the practical solutions it develops, and also I think gives the Quad more ballast to get it through when geopolitical times might be a little challenging. And that will happen, over decades. There'll be times when the 4 countries in the Quad face different challenges, and the Quad will be tested. But if the Quad is also focusing on really practical things, including in the energy transition, where hopefully the countries are making progress regardless of whatever is happening politically or geopolitically, then that really gives the Quad more ballast and momentum to get through those difficult times, as well as producing real practical outcomes. And if the Quad is going to be meaningful, well, the biggest challenge of our time is climate change, and the biggest economic opportunity, so the Quad has to be active in that space, is the way I see it.
And is some of that looking at unlocking supply chains? I know you talked about that tonight.
I think inevitably, because it's a really practical outcome, and again, all 4 benefit. I want to see Australia making more solar panels. I want to see India making more solar panels, and again, that's a diversification, and that's a good thing. It doesn't matter, diversification has to be good. It has to open up more options and insurance policies. So again, I think that's really, when I think about all the forums we participate in, APEC, ASEAN, G20, the Quad is the most obvious one, I think, to focus on supply chain matters.
All right, I must talk to you about climate change. And I was, really excited to hear you talk tonight about Australia's bid for COP31. Of course, as you said, in partnership very much with our Pacific Island neighbours. So in terms of that, it's positioning, this sort of platform, I guess, for us to showcase that the sort of the regional climate leadership that we can highlight with ourselves and the Pacific, and in a sense encourage investment in those climate solutions which feed into the other part of your portfolio. But I wanted to ask you, how would you see us hosting COP31 help advance meaningful climate action with perhaps other Indo-Pacific partners, particularly India, because we're here in Delhi. But how does it actually impact and help us in the region more broadly that we live in?
Well, I guess, Lisa, it's a Pacific COP. It's a Pacific COP being held in the Indo-Pacific, and that's a good thing. And with all due respect to our friends, we've had COPs in my time in Sharm el-Sheikh, Dubai, and Baku, all within, 1,000 or 2 kilometres of each other, in a very small sort of triangle. In a few weeks we're off to Belém in Brazil, which is lovely. But, it's time for a Pacific COP, and it's time for an Indo-Pacific placed COP. And we would certainly be interested in running, or determined to run, an inclusive COP, bringing partners with us. Again, this has come up in meetings today. I'm interested and excited by India's bid, because we would really want to see continuity in COP presidencies. We have to very cooperatively pass the baton to each other, because one COP alone is not going to solve the world's problems. COP is increasing the move to a troika type model where the 3 existing presidencies collaborate, and I would certainly want to continue that and enhance that, and where possible work together. So I think it is a remarkable opportunity. Yes, unashamedly and unapologetically we want to lift the interests of Pacific Island nations and get their issues on the world agenda for the first time meaningfully, but that should also be seen in the broader context of a COP held in the Indo-Pacific, which I think is a remarkable opportunity after a range of COPs held a long way from the part of the world which we share.
Absolutely. Well, Minister, it's just been fantastic to have you give our annual oration. Yes, you are very much a friend of the Australia-India Institute and of India, but you have come at a time that's, in Diwali fever mode, and it is an exciting time on India's calendar, but as you say, also for our Indian diaspora, and therefore for the broader Australian multicultural community that you will go home and celebrate with in your own electorate. So on a lighter note, I want to close tonight and ask you about that. I know you will be celebrating Diwali, but more about, what might be your favourite food that you might be eating this Diwali, or what might be the favourite restaurant in your electorate in Sydney that you might be frequenting at this time?
Well, everyone knows, Lisa, that the best Indian restaurants in Australia are in Western Sydney, and I will give 2 a shout out: Ginger in Harris Park and Juggies in Seven Hills. One in my electorate, one just outside my electorate. And Juggies is supplying the food for my Diwali on Saturday night. We're expecting about 300 people. They're a magnificent establishment. And again, all Australian success stories, Indian Australian success stories, started from scratch. And Juggies is now a chain, not a small chain. It's got several restaurants. We're very proud to have him in Seven Hills, and that's where I went for my birthday dinner with my family this year, for example. So if you haven't been to Western Sydney, Seven Hills is the place to be. Harris Park is also great, Little India as it's known, or as Prime Minister Modi called it on his visit, Harish Park, highly recommended.
Well, that's wonderful, Minister. I have to say, in this role, I take a number of special visitors to Harris Park, to Little India. Some of them, I think, are in this room tonight, so they know that incredible experience that we have in Little India. But I will, as a Sydney sider these days, I will have to come to Seven Hills and visit Jaggish. So thank you so much. Enjoy the rest of your time here in India. Thank you for giving our annual oration, and happy Diwali.
Happy Diwali.
Thanks a lot.
That was wonderful. Thank you, Lisa, and thank you, Mr. Bowen, for your wonderful insights and the important work that you're doing to strengthen the relationship between Australia and India. Now I would like to invite Australian High Commissioner, His Excellency Philip Green, to deliver his remarks. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, Australia and India are building a new, deep, close and enduring bilateral partnership, eclipsing even the many good things that have been achieved over the decades of our friendship. As we do that, we need institutions beyond government that provide ballast, thought leadership, depth and enrichment. The Australia-India Institute is amongst the most important institutions to bring that depth and ballast. And this oration is a key part of the institution's role. It engages strategic level players and encourages them to think deeply and prospectively about our partnership. So I thank the Institute for its work and for this oration series. I particularly thank Lisa Singh for her leadership. She is an icon of the bilateral relationship, the first woman of Indian descent to be elected to the Australian Parliament, a trailblazer at a time before the current moment, at a time where an Australian diaspora that makes up 4% of our population was not in prospect. I also thank the chair of the Institute, Patrick Suckling, a critical thinker and an achiever on a wide canvas across government, business and thought leadership, and a former High Commissioner to India who led the conclusion of the Security Cooperation Framework and much beyond. Ladies and gentlemen, I have known Chris Bowen for over a decade and have come to understand him well. He is one of the most determined and indomitable figures in the Australian political life, with a record and achievement over many decades. He is a true believer in a stronger, more prosperous, fairer and more sustainable Australia, an Australia closer engaged with its region and particularly with India. He is in the right job to get Australia and the world where we need to go on climate change. We need more people like Chris Bowen. More ideas, more focus, more action, more follow-through. Thank you, Minister, for your address tonight. You have underlined the historic character of the green transition. You have reminded us of the ways that Australia and India together can support each other's renewable industries. You have demonstrated an impressively deep understanding of the technicalities of the green transition. You have given us an insight into how Australia could drive the multilateral dimension of climate change action. You have challenged us to redouble our efforts on climate change action. And in the best traditions of the Oration, you have underscored the salience of this relationship in responding to a key global and regional challenge. In short, you have given us a vision and a sense of inspiration, and we thank you for it. Finally, ladies and gentlemen, I thank you, the audience, for your interest. As we bring to a close this annual oration, I encourage you to continue to play your part in the great Australia-India relationship that we are building. This partnership is going places. Hang on and relish the journey. I thank you very much.